What up, loungers? Welcome back to another show. Today's going to be, let's do housekeeping first. Rescue One CBD, their official sponsor of the show. Give a bottle a try. Just give a bottle a try. And use my code EMS20. Get 20% off. Get a bottle, try it, use the whole bottle, see if it doesn't improve your sleep, doesn't improve your focus, your attention. In fact, I need some now. But what I wanted to talk about as far as CBD Rescue One, it does have 0.000 THC, which means it's not going to show up on a test. And so you don't need to worry about failing a test. Thousands of firefighters using it. But again, use my code EMS20. You get 20% off, or click the link in my Instagram bio. It'll take you to the website. However you want to do it, it's fine. But make sure you use the code so you get that 20% off. Try it. And let me know what you think. Anyways, Friday mornings, 11 o'clock Pacific time, I'm on the Thin Line Rock Station. 2 hours of rock music. Like to throw in a little mix up once in a while, but other than that, we do 2 hours. We do Idiot of the Week, where I pull some random news story that's just about some stupid idiot on the streets that we see every day. So sometimes it's not a big deal, but I try to find some pretty outlandish ones. Anyways, today's episode, I was coming back from LA this morning, and for some reason, I don't know what triggered it. I know there's an interview with Katt Williams on, I think it's called the Shay Shay Show. I think that's what it's called. Anyways, it's a very lengthy episode. I know it's over 2 hours. I don't remember the exact time, but it's a 2 hour show. And it's Katt Williams being himself, and listening to Katt Williams and knowing a little bit about him. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. He's very, very particular with his interviews just because of the things that get said, the things that get done. And the industry, and when I mean industry, I'm talking about media, social media, mainstream media, doesn't matter. People will twist and turn what you say and use it against you. And it's been done millions upon millions of times. And what caught my attention was, I love the fact that he's not afraid of the industry. And I love the fact that he's not afraid of other artists. And so he'll be honest. And that's one of the things that he mentions, that he talks about, that he's one of the more honest people. And how do you believe him? You got to take everything. You don't have to, but I take a lot of what he's saying for face value, because with what he has said, I've looked up and it's been right. It's been true. It's been accurate. So at that point, I'm going to take what he has to say and I'm going to take it for face value and I'm going to believe it. And the things he talks about in this episode is damaging to a lot of people. It's damaging to a lot of artists. And bear with me, I'm going somewhere with this. He's genuine, and he won't let people take advantage of him. And that's the thing that caught my attention with him. And he's very in your face. And he had mentioned something that was funny. Was he says, "Look, my job is to make people laugh, but my job as a comedian too is when people, when I hit you and you fall down, I'm going to keep hitting you." And he's just going to keep going and going and going and going until you stop. And honestly, that's kind of how I've been in my life. Is if somebody, look, the best way to put it is this, and I've said this and I've posted this before, right? You can be an asshole, do your thing. But when I do my thing, don't come back at me going, "Hey, you shouldn't have done that. You were very mean." I don't typically start things. I shouldn't say I never start things. I don't typically start things. But I can assure you, I finish them. And I've always been that way. And I've always hated bullies. It's just been, and the funny part is, my relationship with my own dad was never good. It was basically non-existent for most of my life. And I had found out at an early age that he was very much against the bullying too. And this is just hearsay. I don't know the man well enough to comment much more than that, but that's what I was told. And I'm kind of the same way. I've been that way my whole life. I don't like bullies. I can't stand them, and I hate them. And I can't tell you how many times people have come to me and said, "Man, you were really mean to that guy and you're being a bully." I'm being a bully to the bullies. And I know that's kind of contradictory, but at the same time, I think you understand what I'm talking about. Don't come at me and expect me not to do anything. I'm not that person. I don't, and for you younger generation, I think that's hard for you guys to understand because you're very passive. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm not knocking you for it. It's how you were brought up, and that's fine. But I wasn't. And a lot of people in my generation weren't raised that way. You hit us, we hit back. And a lot of us, once we start hitting, we don't stop. We're not going to. And that was just one of the things that I took away from that interview, that Katt Williams is that way. Like he's super chill. He's very respectful, believe it or not. And some of you have seen parts of his comedy stand up and you're like, this guy can't be respectful. In reality, if you were to break it down and look at how he acts, he is. But my point that I'm really trying to make with all this is that this is what we need to start doing to our employers. And I know some of you are like, no, we can't, you got to be, but hear me out. You've got to be respectful. And this is how this is what I'm going to relate it to. And if you guys can remember, some of you might remember, and I can't remember the exact time frame. I know it was before COVID, so it was pre-2019. I don't remember if it was 2016, 17, 18-ish, probably 16, 17. I know it was early on in my podcast that we had talked about something about this subject, and I went in detail with it. If you want to hear it, you can. But private ambulance companies for 911 typically do not pay well. And I can remember that at the time, AMR in Southern California was paying their EMTs about $15 an hour, and which is not great, right? And so the McDonald's and Walmart employees started standing up, and they started protesting, and they started their walkouts and their sit-ins and things like that. And guess what they got? They got a pay raise. Now, I will say it wasn't handled very well. They did get a great pay raise. So as we all know in Southern Cal, well, not all. If you don't know, in California, minimum wage, and I shouldn't say minimum, starting wage for restaurant and fast food workers is $20 an hour. Now that there's very specific details for them to qualify for that. I think they have to have more than 50 employees. I think they have to have multiple locations, et cetera, et cetera. There's all these different caveats to where the owners only have to pay if they meet these requirements. And so your McDonald's, your Jack in the Box, those type of things, they're going to get it. Those people are getting $20 an hour. But then you take the mom and pop stores, they don't necessarily qualify for that. But the problem was they were losing employees to Jack in the Box and McDonald's and Walmart because they did. And my point to all this is they fought for it. All I see on Instagram is people complaining about their work conditions. People complaining about having to work Christmas. People complaining they had to work Thanksgiving. Listen, if you work somewhere for more than I'll give you up to 3 years. If you're not happy with the situation, that's on you. Change it. Work to change it. Find a way to change it. You can't sit there and start a job. Okay, so first of all, you picked a job that pays low. We know this. If you didn't know this going into the job, you're an idiot and didn't do your research. However, most of us know the low pay and the hard hours. We know that going into it. You still chose to take it for the money they offered you. Why? Why did you take it? You agreed to it. 6 months in, you're no longer agreeing to it. That's on you. They offered you a job. You knew the job. You said you knew the job. You did your research. You know the pay. And now you don't like it, even though you knew what it was going in. What changed? You learned your value. Plain and simple. But you're not doing anything about it. You're not out. You whine and complain about your working conditions, but you do it on social media. You're not bringing your concerns to your boss. And now, let's say you are bringing them to your boss and nothing's happening. Now it's on them. I'll give you that. But how many of you are actually truly taking it to the upper management to get things changed? And if they say they can't change it, that's on you to stay. If you stay, it's on you. You leave, good for you. Glad you did it. That's part of the reason I got out of private EMS. It was low pay, long hours, being abused, and I worked for a great company. Plain and simple. The company I worked for, and I've said this before, it was called Care Ambulance. It's no longer around. It's now Falck, right? But Falck bought them out. But prior to Falck buying them out, it was a great company to work for. And I know a lot of employees will say that. And it's primarily the employees that worked somewhere else first and then came there. They've learned that they had things going correctly and they were doing the right thing. But my point again is same with fire departments. You guys, the problem is we have handed over the power to our employer, to our department. And I don't think you guys have realized this. And a lot of the older generation hasn't realized this. The younger generation might, but no offense, you just don't have much of the backbone to stand up for it, to change that. But the older generation does. But you have to understand, departments are desperate right now. Now, obviously, there's exceptions to the rule, but departments are desperate. I can tell you there was a local department near me, a very well-respected department that it's small. It's, I want to say 4, maybe 5 stations, so it's fairly small. They run a ton of calls. They get a lot of fire. They have their own boxes, so they have their own AOs. It's a really, I know people that work there, and it was a great department to work for. I'm sure it still is. They had a hiring bonus, I want to say, of more than $30,000. A sign-on bonus of 30 grand for firefighters. Why? And the funny thing is, there's no negative remarks about them. I haven't found a single, again, I know people that work there. There's no complaints about this department. There's no complaints about the chief, the BCs, the DCs. They don't have complaints. It's a great department to work for. So why are they having to do this? But furthermore, to expand on that, why aren't you at your employer's doorstep demanding better work conditions? Now, I'm not saying don't be a little bitch about it. I'm not saying, oh, it's too cold, it's too hot, I need this condition changed, I need that condition. Don't be that. But if your rigs are breaking down, if your schedule is too tight. Look, I've said this before, if you've been short-staffed for more than 6 months, I'll give you a year. If you've been short-staffed for more than a year, you're not short-staffed according to your administration. You're not. They like it that way. Or they just financially don't have the money. But either way, you're not short-staffed. You're staffed how they want you to be staffed. That's it. Or all they can afford. But to sit there for listen, I worked at a place who I just found out are doing layoffs. They're laying people off. I want to say 200 people. Okay. All I've heard since I started in 2013 was they were short-staffed. Since 2013 to 2026, they've been short-staffed and now they're laying people off. Why? Why? They weren't short-staffed. That's how they chose to run the business. Period. End of story.
You guys want to talk about patient safety? You want to talk about rig safety? You want to talk about staffing levels and all this? What are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? I don't see anything being done. Now, I'm going to take it a step further too. I'm telling you guys to stand up for what you want to stand up for, or what you need, or what you want. But if you just stand up and say, this is what we want, and you don't have a good reason, you can't back it up, you don't have proof, and you don't have a solution to the problem, you don't have a leg to stand on. So before you guys sit there and say, well, I'm going to go to my department and tell them we need, more time off. Why? What is your proof that you need more time off? Because you're tired? Not enough? That's not going to be enough proof. Well, we're tired. Okay. A lot of departments that are tired. I knew guys working at smaller departments that were working 28, 29 out of 30, 31 days. They got 2 days off a month. That was it. They did it for months on end. But guess what they did? They left. That department got gutted. It happens, but at least they stood up for it. But you guys sitting here whining and complaining that, my employer won't give me time off or this or that. There's a department right now, and I'm not going to mention who they are. And they are in California. They are minimally staffed. And there are certain BCs that are going after guys who are calling in sick. So they allegedly, I'm going to say allegedly, they are going by their houses on their sick days to see if they're actually home and sick or did they go somewhere. Like, this is what these chiefs are looking at in this particular department. And unfortunately, nobody's saying anything. The union's not saying anything. The guys aren't saying anything. Look, there's a department nearby in California that is having staffing issues. And these guys are getting worked to death. They're working way too hard. They're working 96s, 2 days off, working 96, 2 days off, working 96. Like, it's brutal. It's the reverse of what everybody is trying to change to. And I know there's a lot of departments, especially more east of us, that are going to more traditional, maybe 48 on, 96 off, or 72 off, or whatever. And they're trying to bring more rest to these guys, and that's great, and it needs to happen. But this particular department, their union's not fighting for them. The guys aren't fighting for it. There's nothing being done. And so I have a hard time. And again, I know a lot of guys at this department, and it's hard for me to have sympathy for them when there's nobody standing up. Nobody. They're calling off of work, and when they call off of work, supposedly BCs are driving by their house. They're making sure they're home. They're like basically verifying that they're actually sick. And so they're getting in trouble for certain things. I know one guy, and I won't give details, but he had posted something, had happened at his house, and he had a home repair that he had to do, and he was struggling to get it done. During this repair, he got sick. And the repair took, it ended up taking him, I think, 3 days total, where it should have only taken about one, but he ran into issues like every home project, right? But he had posted online that he was struggling to get it done. And then all of a sudden, he calls off when he needs to be at work. And guys are like, hey, man, you probably shouldn't be posting that on social media because it makes it look like you called in sick so that you could get work done around your house. Now, here's where I have a big problem with that. Number one, it's not of anybody's concern why he called off. Even if he did call off to do a project, he has sick time, he's earned it, he should be allowed to use it. But on top of that, and again, the repair that needed to be made was crucial to life at home, shall I say. So I don't want to get into details because I don't want to give away who I'm talking about. Some of you might know, because I know there's people around my area that listen to my show. But it's something that you have to have per the health department, basically, right? And he's got small children. This particular item has to work, or you can't remain in the home. So this needs to be a priority. But guys aren't standing up. Why? Why are you not standing up to your employer? If you're already short-staffed, what are they going to do? They're going to suspend you, so now they're short-staffed even more. They're going to fire you, they're short-staffed even more. Budget cuts are tight, they can't afford to hire anybody. So what good did you do by either suspending or firing someone who called off sick for 1 day? You guys, listen, I did a show many, many years ago about AMR and their union and standing up and fighting for what they need or what they want. A department with a union, and I'm talking, this department's fairly large, and I'm just going to throw numbers out there for examples. But if you have a 500-person department, and I'll say I would bet 90% minimum are in the union. And you don't have to, and I'm talking fire suppression personnel only. 500 people, at least 90% are, because a lot of people don't know what the union is. You don't have to be a part of the union. You still have to pay your union dues. They end up getting donated to a certain organization. I think you get to choose it. I don't remember. But you don't have to be a part of the union. And so I would venture to say 10% are not. So let's give it 90%. You're talking 450 employees. You can go to your chief and demand change. You have the strength. It's strength in numbers. What are they going to do when you all fight back or you all push back? There is nothing they can do. You have that control. You have the power. And if you have a union, you have the union backing you. But I'm tired of hearing you guys whine and complain about your working conditions, especially if you've been there more than a year. Let's go 2 years. You've been there more than 2 years. That's on you. You're being whiny. Stop. You chose this profession, and some of you say I didn't choose it. It's a calling, which, okay, fine. Even more so. Stop complaining about it. I get it. We need livable wages. We need time off with our family. You knew what you were getting into. You knew it. Now, maybe your schedule wasn't what it is today. Then fight. Stand up and fight. But you've got to remember something about your job, especially I'm going to go actually fire and EMS. You can go either one. EMS is going to be an injured back 99% of the time. You've got a hurt back. You got to go out on injury. Cool. Fire. Shoulders, probably the number one injury, I would say, either shoulder or cancer, right? Two of your biggest injuries that cause people to be off of work. Then you need to correct that. Something needs to be done. There needs to be, and I'm not saying I have the answers. I'm not saying I have all the planning for this, but as a department, if you're a chief by chance listening, I doubt it, but if you are, you need to start working on a contingency plan. Why is it we have contingency plans for everything we do for the public, but when it comes to our own department, we don't have a contingency plan for staffing? Why? There's a department near me, and volunteer departments are huge. If you guys don't know, there's more volunteer than there are full-time gigs. But there's different ways to supplement your department. I know there's volunteer, there's paid calls, there's CAL FIRE out here. They have what they call, I want to call it, they call it a B shift or something like that. And they're a group of guys who, most of them, if not all of them, have a fire academy. They put them through a mini academy as well to teach them their ways, how they want their hose pulled, rolled, how they want it stocked on the engine, or loaded on the engine. They learn how to throw their own ladders, do their own progressive hose lays, how to do an interior attack the way they want it done. So they put you through a mini academy. Those are ways you need to think about supplementing your department if you are short-staffed. Period, end of story. This whole thing of, well, if we don't get people, the public's in trouble, that's on you as a department. But how are you now, take yourself out of that department, put yourself in the public's face or space, and how does that make you feel? How does it make you feel, especially if you live in your area? I know a lot of guys in my city where I live work where they live. How do you feel knowing your department is short-staffed if you're at home and you need help? Or better yet, let's flip the script a little bit and let's go, what if you're at work, your spouse is at home, and something happens to your kid, but your department is short-staffed and they can't get an engine to you within 7 minutes? Anyone, yeah, we got an ambulance. Okay, great, let's take my ambulance company. It's AMR. Last I heard, don't know if it's changed, 45 minutes to get to you before they have a late fee. They don't even get in trouble, they just get a late fee. 45 minutes. What happens if your kid's in cardiac arrest, your wife, your mom, whatever, is in cardiac arrest, and your department's short-staffed where you live? What are you going to do? Why are you not fighting back? Stop thinking your employer has the power. They don't. And there was a podcast that was started, and I'm not going to say their name just because. But his whole thing that he had initially started was to fight back against the departments. But he didn't have his backing of his brothers. He got in trouble for it. And that needs to change. If you guys want it to change, for lack of better terms, and it sounds stupid, you got to rally the troops. It's the only way you're going to make change in your department. But if you don't say anything, and you operate at a minimum skeletal crew, guess what's going to continue? It's going to continue. You have to fight. You have to. The hospital that I worked at was about 3,500 employees strong. I don't know the number of nurses that were there, but they're trying to lay off 200 nurses. I can't say that 100%. I know there's 200 personnel. I don't know that RNs were affected by that, but all the supporting staff was. You can't do your job without your supporting staff. One of the funniest things I've ever heard, one of the greatest things I've ever heard, not funny, it's great, is, you treat even the people who take out the trash like you do the CEO. Why? Because if the guy doesn't or girl doesn't take out the trash, you can't do your job effectively. The trash man is just as important as a CEO, and if you say otherwise, you're an idiot. Because boots on the ground, if the trash isn't taken out, I can't continue to do my job effectively and or safely. Trash has to go out. Floor needs to be mopped. Toilets need to be cleaned. Toilets need to be unplugged. All that, it's all important. But you guys from the bottom to the top have to get together collectively and fight for what you want and what you need. And when I say fight, I don't mean you have to be nasty about it. You got to be smart about it. Be smart. Put together a plan. You got to explain why you need what you need, why you need it, when you need it. How is there a way for us to get it? If you don't have the how we're going to get it part, that's when you go to the chief. That's when you go to upper management, admin, and say, look, here's the problem we have. This is a solution we came up with. How do we fund it? You guys have to go. We all know the chain of command. Go through the chain of command and get things fixed. But you guys seem to think that you're going to get fired if you bring things up. If you've got a boss or a chief or admin who is above you and you're going to get in trouble for bringing problems up, it's time to go above them. Bring them up gently. They knock you down. You go, great, thank you very much. Have a nice day. And you go above them. The chain of command. If the first one can't get it done, you go to the next one. If they can't get it done, you go to the next one. Come on, guys. This is not rocket science. It's what we've been taught our entire career. Getting into it. This is what we were taught. This is not rocket science. But what it is your life on the line. It's your family's life on the line. It's the public's life on the line. If you truly care about your job, you truly care about the public, you truly care about your brothers on your department and your sisters, why are you not fighting for better conditions? Why are you not fighting for better staffing? Start going to the city council meetings. Start going to your board meetings. You've got to start fighting. There's a gentleman out there, Paul Scarvino, I think is his name. I've posted some of his stuff before. This dude, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is a former captain from LA City Fire. He's got his own podcast. He's big into the social media, and he is fighting tooth and nail. Now, granted, the department can't fire him. He's been retired medically because of some issues he had. At least that's what I've gathered from what I've seen. He's fighting for those guys. And he's aggressive, but he can be. But he would be a great person to get the troops together, get them to fight, get them to get together. And again, when I say fight, I'm not talking, you don't have to go at this aggressively. You don't got to think that, I'm going to fight, I'm going to be retaliated against. Start bringing up your concerns. You guys just let them go by the wayside. I see it all the time. I have a friend who does the same thing. He's just like, yep, that's the way it is. I go to work, I keep my head down, and I go home. Then it's never going to change. It's never going to change. You're going to go in and day out. It's going to be that same way. Things don't change unless you make them change. Why? A, the employer doesn't know, or B, the employer knows and doesn't care. C, the employer can't do anything about it, and nobody's trying to push the issue. Again, if you go to your chief can't do it, you need to go to your board of supervisors. You need to go to the city councils. You need to go to these people, and you need to start fighting. You need to start explaining what's going on. To be honest with you, they're probably oblivious. Most of them are oblivious and have no idea what they're doing, have no idea what they're talking about. And it's not until you bring it to them that they understand. Again, Paul, this gentleman, Scarvino, I believe is who his name is. If you don't know, go search him out on Instagram. He's there. He's been at meetings, and one of the, I don't remember her title. I don't think it was Mayor Bass, but it might have been. She had mentioned she doesn't understand why there's such why there's a minimum standard of being able to throw a ladder and pull a hose. Like, she's like, that irritates me. I don't understand why that's our standard. Because there's a basic minimum that has to be met. But she has no idea what's being done by the boots on the ground. She doesn't understand that, if you get I know a shift, I know a department right now, I know a station where my buddy's working, they get a fire every shift. They get a structure fire every single shift. Every shift. I could go through the catalog and I could show you. I could pull it up. Every single day they get a structure fire. It almost is, it's like 100% guarantee he gets a structure fire every single shift. I guarantee you the city's not realizing that.
So with that being said, get your guys together, start fighting. It's the only way you're going to make change. I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry. It's just, it's pissing me off. And don't ask me how I got from Katt Williams to that. I think it's just from him standing up to the industry, whether it be comedians, Hollywood, music, whatever. But he fought back. There's others that are doing it now, and they're getting blacklisted for it, but they're willing to do it because they know it needs to happen. It's morals. It's integrity. Where is it? What happened to it? Where's your morals? Where's your integrity? You're not doing the public justice by being short-staffed. That's your job, is to protect the public. Life and property, that's your number one and number two goals, to protect. Do it. Fight. Be advocates. We always talk about being an advocate for our patients. Who's our patients? Public. Advocate for them. With the department, with the city, county, state, whomever. You got to start fighting, you guys. It's not gonna fix itself. And listen, one thing I learned about owning a business, people don't wake up and go, what can I do for you? Nobody does. Nobody. City council does not wake up and go, you know what does the fire department need today? They might put it on a meeting. They might bring it up once a year. Hey, what do we need to do for the department this year? But that's it. And until you start bringing stuff up, it's not going to change. It's not. So anyways, that's all I got for you. Thanks for listening to me blabber. Hope it's a good one. We'll see you next time. Keep lounging.